Thank you for joining me. This is the Spiritual Princess, and today I wanted to talk about what the spirits have told me about God, what happens to suicide victims, what happens to our bodies when we die. So this is what my guides have said. The question actually is, what have the spirits told you about God? So the guide says, God is in all of us. God is a part of us, as there is no separation. In every experience, God is also experiencing the same as we are. So transitioning to the light means you have accepted to come home, where you were created to be loved and protected and be rejoined with your loved ones. Whether you come home or stay on the earthly plane is your choice, but coming home is much more enjoyable than staying in a negative plane of existence like Earth. And there's another question. As we leave our bodies, do we immediately go to the other side? What happens right at the moment of death? So my guides answered, once the body dies, your soul has to decide whether or not they feel it's time to leave everything behind. If they are attached to earthly possessions or people, it is much more difficult for them to transition to the other side. Some spirits want to continue living out their lives in spirit form with friends and family, and they don't leave until everyone else does. Here's another question. After my husband died, he seemed to be around me more in the first year, and then after a while, I knew he had moved on. What happens the first year after death? Why do some people come to loved ones so clearly and some don't? My guide answered, that depends on how much the spirit believed while living. If they had a strong base in faith, God, and the other side, it would be much easier to communicate with their loved ones after they pass. If the spirit did not have any beliefs regarding death and the other side, they have a lot to learn, so therefore it takes them more time to become enlightened before they can visit their loved ones. And for another question, does everyone go to heaven regardless of religious beliefs? My guides say, only if they want to. As a soul, you have a choice. You will never be made to go home, but if you stay earthbound and do bad things, you will be dissolved if it gets bad enough. It doesn't matter what religious beliefs you had while living, the light of God welcomes anyone who accepts it. Now, I wanted to go back to what I said about being dissolved. I didn't know this for a long time, but I had an evil spirit follow me home, and he tried to harm me while I was asleep. And I heard my guides yelling for Archangel Michael to get here now. And it sounded like somebody wrestling in the dark. So I jumped out of bed and turned the light on. So the next day I asked my guides, what did you guys do? What happened? And they said they had to dissolve him, the evil guy. And I said, what do you mean by dissolve? So what guides, angels, and the archangels can do is they basically, if there's a spirit that has no light in them, they destroy them and they turn them back into light. And so they don't exist anymore. So when you think about somebody like Hitler or Bin Laden, somebody who's done awful, terrible things, that's probably what's going to happen to their soul or already did. So I kind of just wanted to backtrack to make people understand what that means when you're dissolved. Okay, so another question is, do people who commit suicide and die in tragic accidents all go through the same transformations, and do they all end up in the same dimension? So my guides say suicides are difficult because it's something the soul has to decide. There are many reasons why someone might not want to fulfill their life's contract here. Generally, they choose lessons that are too difficult for them to handle, and the angels and guides discourage that before people are born, but they will override them and believe they will be fine. So basically, they're taking on too much. And then some souls are born with mental illness or another disability. And these souls are not capable of seeing past suicide as being wrong. So they want the pain to end, and they believe that ending their life on earth will end all the pain, but it doesn't. That's not true. They are made to live out lessons on the other side, but in a gentler way. So you don't get away from whatever was, really impacting somebody here who wants to take their own life. They are made to live it on the other side. Many suicide victims devote their time to helping the living not make the same mistakes after their death. That spirit will jump in and try to guide that person not to end their life. Now, if the living person is not open to any form of spiritual communication or doesn't believe in God or angels, they will not be able to sense, hear, or feel the transmission trying to come through. So people who die in tragic accidents are mostly confused and do not understand what has happened. But that's only if the person understood that the accident was inevitable or, they knew they were going to die. Okay, so somebody else asked, is heaven another planet-like existence? My guide said, it's a higher dimension, not a planet. Therefore, everything you love while on Earth is recreated in heaven for all to enjoy. Given that so many souls like different things, you have anything you could think of there. If it's not created, you will create it in your mind and make it exist. It's pretty much effortless. And this question is, I am conflicted about mediums versus Christian beliefs. The Bible is against this practice, calling it sorcery, and I have heard others say that there are no spirits and no afterlife. I know this cannot be true because I have seen ghosts and had paranormal experiences. Okay, so I let my guide answer this one as well. My guide said, just because something is taught in a religion doesn't make it correct or accurate. Many teachings are false, so this is important for a medium to understand or anybody to understand. You are on a different journey than someone who goes to church once a week or even twice a week. Mediums are given this gift of connecting to the other side so that you know what is true and what is not. We are not saying going to church is wrong, but it is not always the best for people who need more in-depth spiritual training. That is because mediums are experiencing something completely different than those who go to church to hear inspirational messages, see friends, or be a part of their community. So on the other side, my guide said they do not like that specific teaching makes people believe that a medium is evil because it is a much needed healing on this planet. There is nothing wrong with wanting to help those who need to heal from losing a loved one. Their Bible tries to make people believe it is immoral to speak with those who have passed on, which is wrong. Many spirit people need the support and healing before transitioning due to whatever they were taught or believed about religion at the time of their death. So it's a medium's job to have the compassion for those souls and help them find the light or help them heal and understand that what was taught to them was not exactly right. The bottom line is people are given this ability for a specific reason that only God and that person understand, and it's not for any religious person to judge, and it's not the medium's job to try to change somebody's faith or belief system. Churchgoers are on a much different spiritual journey than a medium. It's like comparing a first grade student to somebody trying to get a master's degree. We're so far apart in the knowledge that it's ridiculous to try to make a comparison. Okay, so moving on to the final question. The question is, I want to know about God and angels. Do we have to earn our way to heaven, or does anyone go there? Is there a hell, or is it only in our head? Which I think I answered that earlier, but my guide said God created angels to help humanity while on earth. Since so many unenlightened souls come to earth to learn lessons, God put guides and angels in charge to assist people with the hard lessons they are faced with. They try and impress the right thoughts in everyone's mind to go in the right direction or do the right thing. That's the job of a guide. Some people respect that advice and will listen, while others do what they want, which usually turns out bad and causes problems for them or others. And for that reason, many evolved souls are sent to Earth to help the younger souls learn and grow. Now, evolved souls are sent to help spirits left behind make their transition, kind of like a medium. The biggest problem we guides have noticed is that many enlightened souls do not know where to turn for guidance or acquire everything they need to know to do this work properly. And many are born with specific abilities, but they don't acknowledge them out of fear of being made fun of or branded like an odd new age spiritual weirdo, which is entirely wrong. So I hope that helped explain a little bit about going to heaven or suicide victims. I know some people are very interested in these topics and some might not be, but I have a new book coming out and these questions and answers are actually in the book. So I just thought I would share a few of them here. I hope you enjoyed. Love and light.